Hare Krishna. Welcome to another session of Bhagavad Gita as it is. Now we are finally on to the fourth chapter, which is Transcendental Knowledge. This chapter, as the title indicates, talks about Jnana Yoga or Transcendental Knowledge. The chapter can be divided into different sections for our better understanding. The first four verses mainly talks about the lineage of transcendental knowledge, how through the parampara system this knowledge is transmitted. The first couple of verses, Lord Krishna says that through parampara, how this knowledge came down. So Lord Krishna first spoke it to the sun god Vivaswan, who then spoke it to the father of mankind Manu, who spoke it to Ikshvaku. So that is how this knowledge came about. But over a period of time, the knowledge got deviated and the parampara was broken. Hence, Krishna had to again speak the same transcendental knowledge to Arjuna. So Arjuna obviously was confused because Arjuna says sun god is much ancient. Sun god has been there for a very long time. But hey Krishna, you are my contemporary. You and I are almost same age. So how can I believe that you spoke it to sun god? Well, actually, Arjuna knew the supreme position of Lord Krishna. Arjuna knew that Krishna was the supreme personality of Godhead. Then why did he ask such a question? Well, the answer is that Arjuna was asking the question for our sake, because he knew that in the future there will be people who disbelieve the position of Krishna. Therefore, Arjuna asked that question for our benefit. Then, in answer to that, Lord Krishna speaks that about his divine nature. Lord Krishna says, both you and I have gone through many births. You cannot remember those births, Arjuna, because you are a Jivatma. I am Paramatma. I am the Supreme Lord. I can remember all my past birth. I can remember everybody's past birth, everybody's current and future birth as well. Obviously, Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so he knows everything. And then Lord Krishna says, my body is transcendental. Our body is material. It deteriorates with time and it perishes with death. And we get a new body and we keep changing our bodies. However, Lord Krishna's body is transcendental. It never changes or deteriorates. And there is no difference between Krishna and his body or his paraphernalia for that matter. So everything associated with Lord Krishna is transcendental, is spiritual. It's not at all material. While we are material in the material world with material bodies. And then Lord Krishna says about when does he appear, the time of his appearance. Lord says that whenever there is a decline in religious practices, dharma, when there is an increase of adharma, irreligion, then I appear in every millennia, in every yuga. And then what is the purpose of Krishna's appearance? Lord says to annihilate the miscreants, to protect the devotees. Lord says, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkrita, miscreants. To protect the devotees and to annihilate the demons, I appear. Now one may ask, why does Krishna has to appear? Because this job of killing the demons can also be done by Krishna's servants. It can be done by the demigods, or it can be done by the empowered devotees and servants of Krishna. So why does Krishna has to personally come? Well, the answer for that is Krishna comes to associate with his dear devotees. Krishna wants to connect with them. Krishna wants to spend time with them. Therefore, the primary reason is to associate with his devotees, to have pastimes with the devotees. And killing the demons is secondary. And then the next few verses talk about the result of knowing Krishna's appearance. When we know about Krishna's appearance, what does that do? Lord says that Tyaktva deham punarjanma na neti mam eti sojuna. When the one who knows about my divine appearance, one who knows about me, he will not have to take birth again when he quits the present body. So when one knows about Krishna's transcendental position, one gets liberated, because that is a transcendental knowledge. That's a jnana which liberates you. And when you know Krishna, you start loving Krishna. And then the next 5 verses speaks about Krishna's divinity. Krishna reciprocates with the devotee's mood. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tathaiva bhajamyam. I reciprocate according to the intensity of my devotees. So, depending on you, Krishna reciprocates. Some want to see Krishna as their friend. Krishna becomes their friend. Some wants to see Krishna as their lover. Krishna becomes their lover. So as per the mood of the devotee, Krishna reciprocates. And then Krishna talks about the worship of demigods. Why some people worship demigod? Well, the reason is they want quick result. Demigod worship will yield quick result. And these people are after material gains. And they want quick gains. So they worship demigods. However, the demigods can only give you material things. The demigods cannot give you liberation. Demigods cannot take you out of the cycle of birth and death. And also, the demigods can give you any benediction only if Lord Krishna sanctions it. And then Lord Krishna talks about the 4 varnas, how he created the 4 varnas, and based on one's temperament, one's aptitude, Lord Krishna created the 4 varnas. It's not based on birth, as now the caste system is popularly understood. The different varna, caste or varna is not based on birth. Then Lord says that his work does not affect him. Lord says, Namam karmani limpanti, name karma phalespara. My work does not bind me, because Krishna is above the 3 modes of material nature. And finally, the last section of this video, we understand the intricacies of karma. And Lord says that, Lord himself says, Lord Krishna says that it is very difficult to understand karma. There are a lot of complexities involved in that. The one who sees inaction in action and action in inaction, that person is intelligent. So how is that? When you are doing an action, but internally you are detached from that action. You don't desire the end result of that action. Okay? That means you are a detached worker. As an example, suppose you are cooking something. You are cooking some very delicious food. You are cooking it as a matter of duty. You are not cooking it because you want to taste those things. Sense gratification is not the motivation for you to cook. You are cooking it as a part of your duty towards Lord. You are cooking it for the pleasure of the Lord. So, you are a detached worker. You're doing action. Externally, if somebody looks, they can see you cooking. But internally, you're completely detached. You're just doing your duty. And that is the platform of jnana. And then the detached worker or karma yogi, we understand about the detached worker. His knowledge burns up his karma. And then there are two stages of the detached worker. One is the practicing stage, arurukshu. The sadhana is arurukshu. So what are the symptoms of the beginning stage of the detached worker? He gives up attachment to the result of the activity. He is always satisfied and independent. But when you say independent, it does not mean independence from Krishna. It means independence from the desires. He is engaged in all activities, but he performs no fruitive action. Remember, we learned about the fruitive action when you want to enjoy the fruits of the action. Well, a detached worker is not a fruitive worker. He is completely independent that way. Then comes the stage of perfection, arudha or siddha stage. And there is a list of different qualities of the perfect detached worker. He is free from desires, he is self-controlled, he has no sense of ownership or proprietorships, he only acts for the bare necessities of life, he does not incur any sin, he is satisfied with whatever comes on its own, he is tolerant of dualities, heat, cold, success, failure, it doesn't affect him because he knows that's the nature of the material world. He's free from envy, he's steady in success and failure, he's not entangled in the action even though he's performing the action. He's unattached to the modes of material nature, he's situated in transcendental knowledge, he acts for the sake of yajna. Now yajna has different meaning. One meaning of yajna is the fire sacrifice. Another meaning of yajna is any action which has a end result. That is yajna. And yajna also means Lord Krishna, who is the enjoyer of the yajna. Yajna also means Krishna. And he doesn't incur any reaction. So these are the different stages of a perfect detached worker. And finally, we have a verse which is very popular. Brahmarpanam brahmahavir brahmagnau brahmanahutam brahmeva tena gantavyam brahma karma samadhina. Yajna, which is done in spiritual consciousness, leads to a spiritual goal. So that was the gist of this section on transcendental knowledge. Let's go verse by verse. Hare Krishna.
विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा. Hare Krishna. So now we are on to the fourth chapter, the transcendental knowledge. This chapter can be broadly divided into 5 sections, and in this video we are going to cover the first 3 sections. On your screen you can see a breakup. The first section comprises of the first 10 verses 4.1 to 4.10, and it talks about the transcendental knowledge about Krishna. The first point, transcendental knowledge about Krishna should be received by disciplic succession or parampara. The second point in this is that this reveals the truth about Krishna's form, his birth, and his activities. And knowing these truths, one who takes shelter of Krishna becomes purified and attains Krishna. So that was the first section. The second section from 4:11 to 4:15. 4 verses that talks about how to apply this transcendental knowledge. Krishna is neutral and sanctions the awarding of fruits of everyone's work. Awards the fruits according to the living entity's desires and past deeds. Understanding Krishna in this way keeps one free from material bondage. In the final section for today, section 3 from verse 16 to 24, is about understanding karma on the platform of jnana. One can perform detached actions in Krishna's service by applying transcendental knowledge. They are called akarma. Akarma refers to actions without reactions, and such actions are on the absolute platform. Krishna explains how, in this way, karma can be seen as jnana. So we are in the first section, the lineage of transcendental knowledge, parampara. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavan Ahamavyayam Vivasvan Manave Praha Manur Ikshvakave Bravit. The personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god, Vivasvan, and Vivasvan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku. Evam parampara praptam imam raja rishayo vidu sakale neha mahata yogo nashta parantapa. The supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. स एवायं मयेतेद्या योगप्रोक्तः पुरातना भक्तोऽसि मे सखा चेति रहस्यं ह्येतदुत्तमम्. That very science of the relationship with the Supreme is told by me to you because you are my devotee as well as my friend and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of this science. Arjuna Uvacha Aparam Bhavato Janma Param Janma Vivasvata Katham Etad Vijaniyam Tamado Proktavaniti. Arjuna said, the sun god Vivaswan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to him? So here, the main gist of this section is that the true knowledge, the true transcendental knowledge cannot be had from textbooks. It has to be absorbed in the parampara system from your spiritual master, who took it from his spiritual master. So that is the lineage of parampara. And here Lord Krishna said he spoke this knowledge to the sun god, and sun god spoke to his son, and Manu spoke to Ikshvaku. So the original purpose of Gita was scattered by the motives of unscrupulous commentators and their unauthorized interpretation. Therefore, the need to establish the bona fide disciplic succession came. Therefore, Lord Krishna spoke to Arjuna 5,000 years ago. So every time that chain is broken, Lord Krishna will again revive the chain, because this transcendental knowledge has to be understood only in the disciplic succession, as I said, not from textbooks or internet. Now here, Lord, in the second verse, not the second one, Lord says in the third verse that who is qualified to receive this spiritual knowledge? Arjuna was qualified. And why? Because Arjuna was a devotee of Krishna and he was a dear friend of Krishna. So these two are the qualities that makes a person eligible to receive this spiritual knowledge. So we have to be like Arjuna. We have to be in a loving devotional connection with the Lord to be able to receive and understand this great knowledge. Now, here we are covering verse 5 to 10, which speaks about the divine nature of Lord Krishna's appearance. In the fifth verse, Lord says, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tavacharjuna tanyaham veda sarvani natvam veda parantapa. So Lord Krishna says, both you and I have gone through many, many births. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of the enemy. The conditioned soul transmigrates from one material body to another and forgets everything every time he changes the body. But Lord Krishna, he incarnates, he takes avatar, and his body is such Sat Chit Ananda, and it doesn't change. Lord is omniscient. He remembers all his past appearance. He remembers the future. He remembers the present. So Lord's body is not different from the Lord. Our body is different from us. We are Atma, soul, and our body is just like a jacket, and we keep changing that. Lord, as eternal devotees like Arjuna also come with the Lord, but Lord covers their knowledge by the influence of Yoga Maya. That is why Arjuna, even though Arjuna was an associate, eternal associate of the Lord, he forgot. In the sixth verse, Lord says, Ajopi sanna vyayatma bhutanam ishwaropi san prakritim swam adhishtaya sambhavamyatma. This talks about the uniqueness of Krishna's appearance. Although I'm unborn and my body is imperishable, and although I'm the Lord of all living entities in my original transcendental form, I still appear in every yuga by my own mercy, energy. The seventh verse talks about the time of Krishna's appearance. When does Krishna appear? Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirvhavati bharata abhyuthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in dharma or religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of adharma or irreligion, at that time I dissent myself. Why? Why does Krishna come to reverse the situation, to increase dharma and decrease adharma? Well, one can ask a question. Krishna's devotees can also do this thing. Like, for example, Arjuna was a great archer. He could have killed the demons, but why does Krishna has to personally appear? Well, Krishna appears to perform various inhuman feats which others cannot do. And the eighth verse talks about the purpose of Krishna's appearance. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. To deliver the pious to annihilate the miscreants and to re-establish the principles of religion, I myself appear in every age. The primary reason for Krishna's advent is to satisfy the longing of his pure devotees who desire to see him and to protect them. The punishing of the demons is secondary. Devaki and Vasudeva were persecuted by cruel Kamsa only because Krishna was born to them. So Krishna appeared primarily to deliver Devaki rather than to kill Kamsa, although both were performed simultaneously. Actually, Krishna's punishment is also mercy. Krishna kills evil people as an act of mercy because he bestows on them the bliss of liberation and by killing them for their misdeeds. And the verse number 9 speaks about knowing Krishna's appearance and activities. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tatvatah tyaktva deham punarjanma neti mameti sorjuna. One who understands in truth the uncommon and spiritual nature of my appearance and activities upon leaving the body does not take his birth again in this world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. And the last verse in this section, the knowers of Krishna love Krishna. Vitaraga bhayakroda manmaya mamupashritaah bahavo jnana tapasa putamadbhavamagata. Being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me, many persons in the past, by their true knowledge of me and their austerity, became purified and attained love for me. Krishna's dedicated devotees consider his birth and activities to be divine and eternal, but others who approach him with different goals do not consider it divine. This section, that is verse 11 to 15, we see that Krishna is a creation and culmination of all path. Verse number 11. Ye yatham mam prapadyante tams tathaiva bhajamyaham mama vartamanu vartante manushya partha sarvashah. Krishna reciprocates with the worshippers' mood. Now, Krishna rewards the devotees according to the different intensities of love for him. People on different paths do not realize different things. They realize different degrees and aspects of Krishna. In the spiritual world, Krishna reciprocates with his pure devotee just as the devotee wants him, be it as a master, as a friend, as a son, or a lover. In the material world, he similarly reciprocates with different type of worshippers as per their approach. So, if by worshipping Krishna, path of bhakti, one is awarded with whatever he wants, why do people worship others with material desires? So that the answer to that we find in the next verse, number 12. Kankshanta karmanam siddhim yajanta iha devataha kshipram himanushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja. Now, why do people worship other demigods? Because they desire success in their material work, the path of karma, and they get the result quickly. So that's the reason why people worship the demigods. The Supreme God is one, Krishna, and the demigods are the parts and parcels and servants of Krishna. They're delegated with powers to manage the material world. All men whose intelligence is eclipsed by the desire for quick material enjoyment worship the devatas. Yeah, like in Hindi we say, जिसकी बुद्धि मारी गई है. Those whose intelligence is dull, they worship the devatas for quick results. But the boons given by the demigods are material and temporary. The path of bhakti and jnana give liberation, but the path of karma only leads to bondage. So worshipping of demigod comes under karma kanda. It only leads to bondage. In the verse number 13, Krishna speaks about how he created the four varnas. I created the four divisions of the society according to the qualities, modes, and work. And although I am the creator of the system, know that I am yet the non-doer, being impartial. चातुर्वर्ण्यं मया सृष्टं गुणकर्मविभागशः तस्य कर्तारमपि मां विद्य कर्तारमव्ययम्. Krishna created the four varnas, but Krishna's work does not affect him. He is the creator of the varnas and he expects people to follow their varna and do the work. But when Krishna does work, he is not affected. Namam karmani limpanti name karma phalaspraha iti mam yo bijanati karma bhirna sabadhyate. There is no work that contaminates me. I do not aspire for the fruits of work. One who understands this truth about me does not become bound in the reactions of work. Evam jnatva kritam karma purvairapi mumukshubhi kuru karmeva tasmatvam purvai purvataram kritam. By understanding this about me, that is Krishna, all the liberated souls in ancient times did work without desire. Therefore, we have to do our duty following their footsteps. So these are the 5 shlokas in this section. Moving forward, we go to verse number, the last section, verse 4.16 to 24. Here we are looking at 16, 17, 18. Kim karma kim akarmiti kavayopyatra mohitaha tatte karma pravakshyami yajnatva mokshase shubhat कर्मणो ह्यपि बोधव्यं च विकर्मणः अकर्मणस्तबोधव्यं गहना कर्मणो गतिः. This 2 verses speaks about the intricacies of karma. The intricacies of karma are difficult to understand. Even the wise get bewildered. Now I shall explain karma or action, akarma, inaction, and vikarma, forbidden action, knowing which you shall be liberated from all misfortune. The one who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent among men. He is in transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of action. कर्मण्य अकर्म यः पश्येत् अकर्मणि च कर्म यः स बुद्धिमान् मनुष्येषु स युक्तः कृत्स्न कर्मकृत्. The one who sees inaction in action, all the action that one does, one has to know is one is not the doer. It is done by the modes of material nature, it's done by the sanction of the Lord, and several other factors are involved. Therefore, one who sees inaction in action is intelligent among men. In the next session 19 to 24, symptoms of a detached worker. Qualities of a person who is in a state of inaction or karma, or having no reactions to work, although performing action. Now, you might be a little confused about these terms karma, akarma, vikarma. We have previously also touched upon these. Vikarma means the forbidden action. Karma means action, vikarma is forbidden action, and akarma is inaction. Akarma here means acting for Krishna, which does not create bondage, though that is akarma or nishkam karma. Now, in the 19th verse, Lord says that a detached worker, by his knowledge or jnana, burns up his karma. Yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjitaha jnanagni dagda karmanam tamahu panditam buddha त्यक्त्वा कर्मफलासङ्गं नित्यतृप्तो निराश्रयः कर्मण्यभिप्रवृत्तोऽपि नैव किञ्चित् करोति सः. This verse talks about giving up attachment to the result of his activities, being ever satisfied and independent. Although engaged in all kinds of activities, he performs no fruitive action. Or this is about the stage of practice or sadhana of a detached worker or rukshu. So again, what is the stage? This person who is detached, the detached worker, he gives up attachment to the result of his activities. Why? Because he is forever satisfied and he is independent. He seems to be doing all kinds of things externally, but internally he is completely detached. Therefore, he does not perform any fruitive action. Therefore, he is not bound. निराशीर्यत चित्तात्मा त्यक्त्वा सर्वपरिग्रह शारीरं केवलं कर्म कुर्वन्नाप्नोति किल्बिषम् यदृच्छालाभसन्तुष्टो द्वन्द्वातीतो विमत्सरः समासिद्धावसिद्धौ च कृत्वापि न निबध्यते गतसङ्गस्य मुक्तस्य ज्ञानावस्थितचेतसा यज्ञायाचरत कर्म समग्रं प्रविलीयते. So here the different stages of perfection. Number 1, he is free from desires. Number 2, he is self-controlled. Number 3, he is free from the sense of proprietorship. Number 4, he acts only for the bare necessities of life. Number 5, he does not incur any sin. Number 6, he is satisfied with what comes on its own accord. Number 7, he is tolerant of dualities. He is free from envy. He is steady both in success and failure. He is never entangled, although performing actions. He is unattached to the modes of material nature. He is fully situated in transcendental knowledge. He acts for the sake of yajna or Krishna. He doesn't incur reactions and he merges into transcendence. Finally, the last verse for this video. ब्रह्मार्पणं ब्रह्महविर्ब्रह्माग्नौ ब्रह्मणाहुतं ब्रह्मैव तेन गन्तव्यं ब्रह्मकर्म समाधिना. Yajna and spiritual consciousness leads to spiritual goal. By spiritual oblations with spiritual instruments offered into spiritual fire by the spiritual person, one surely attains the spiritual kingdom by being absorbed in spiritual activities.